It was not unusual in the early 1900s for poor children to be put to work, particularly in the South. In some southern states, nearly 30% of textile workers were between 10 and 15-year-olds. Reformers had begun to mobilize against child labor in 1906, the year of Carey's birth. The left-wing writer John Spargo had written a muckraking book, The Bitter Cry of the Children, which decried the enslavement of children and lamented that this great nation, in its commercial madness, devours its babies. But even as progressiveness fought child labor, the business and political establishment, especially in the South, defended it. Parents should be left alone, one Southern governor insisted, and allowed to manage their own children and their own affairs. With their education complete, or as complete as the Dobbses would allow, Carey was freed up to do domestic work full time. She had more time to help Alice Dobbs with chores and the house. She was also now available for the Dobbses to hire out before the day to do paid housework for the neighbors, with Carey performing servants' chores for paying customers, as well as for her own foster family. The arrangement that the Dobbses insisted had begun as an act of kindness was looking increasingly like a shrewd financial move. Carey's day-to-day experience was not entirely joyless. She found time for hikes on the hills around Charlottesville and went fishing with the boys from the neighborhood. It was a life with a great deal of responsibility and drudgery, but her basic needs were being met. From time to time, Carey ran into her mother and half-siblings on the street. And she could see that her family could not always say the same. In 1920, just as Carey was about to turn 14, her mother's life changed dramatically. Emma was taken in and deposited at the municipal court. It was not clear what she would be charged with. Emma could have been accused of vagrancy or prostitution, but on April 1st, Judge Charles D. Shackelford convened a commission of feeble-mindedness to consider claims that she had a mental peculiarity that caused her to exhibit a lack of moral sense and responsibility. Judge Shackelford probed Emma's life history. Emma said she had been born in Albemarle County 47 years earlier and currently lived in Charlottesville. She was a widow with 3 kids. None of them, she insisted, mentally defective. Asked her profession, she offered none. Though she said she had inherited money from her father, Emma said she had been convicted of prostitution, though women in that era were charged as prostitution for a wide range of activities, including vagrancy. After hearing of the evidence, Judge Shackelford ruled that she was feeble-minded. Though she had not been given a formal intelligence test and without means of support, the court directed that Emma be committed without delay to the colony for epileptics and feeble-minded. 5 days after the hearing, a social worker traveled by train to Lynchburg, the nearest city to the colony. By the way, the colonies are like camps, by the way. That was what they were called back then. Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. A hospital orderly was waiting to take her from the Lynchburg station to her new court-ordered home. On her arrival at the colony, Emma was given a vigorous cleaning and a medical examination. Ew. The institution's records described her as well-nourished and fat, but pale, nervous, and restless. She was found to be suffering from rheumatism, pneumonia, and syphilis. The examiner observed what appeared to be track marks on Emma's arms, suggesting she might have used intravenous drugs. The records included a list of belongings she brought with her. $4.80, waist, shirt, overshoes, one pair of shoes, one pair of hose, one coat, hat, underskirt, two, and one skirt. The clothing, it was noted, was in very bad condition. In keeping with the colony's standard practice, Emma was given an intelligence test. The colony used a version of the Binet-Simon, the leading test at the time, and one that was highly unreliable. On the basis of her performance, Emma was judged to have an IQ of 50 and designated in her intake records as mentally deficient, familial moron. As a result of the diagnosis, she would be locked up for the rest of her life. 4 years had passed since Emma's arrival at the colony, and Carrie was now facing her own inquisition. The Dobbses' petition was signed to Judge Shackelford, the same judge who had sent Emma